And
we,
I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint while you're doing that.
okay. Welcome everyone. I'm so excited. I think we have, I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the call tonight. So that is amazing. I really think it's important, even though, yes, it is kind of late, but to really put the time into your business, and especially when Cathy is willing to train us,
I paid her to
give
say
us her
that, by the
time.
way. Right?
But I thought it would be amazing for some of our aspiring leaders to hear what she has to say, because you either already have team members or you are planning on building your team. And so having this information and knowledge from the beginning is super important. So thank you for being on with us. And that, we're just going to let Cathy take it away.
Okay, awesome. So I'm super excited to be here. This is one of my very favorite things to do, is to work with our consultants and our leaders. So I am a field development manager, which basically means I develop the field. So I primarily work with our executive levels and all of those that want to be executive. And so Lindsay's in that boat. And so it's so exciting that you guys are about to become an executive team. We have only 38 executive directors in Pampered Chef. So you guys are the cream of the crop, tip of the top. So it's pretty exciting to be a part of this success and going for this together. And I'm so impressed how many of you have already achieved this goal and how many of you are going for this goal. So, and it's just the beginning. I mean, this is just where the rewards begin. So kudos to all of you. So yes, we're going to be talking about coaching. And I was actually really impressed that Lindsay said, yeah, I want my aspiring leaders to be on there so that they can learn a little bit about how this works. So go ahead and get out your paper and pencil, your iPads, whatever you're going to take notes on, because I'm going to teach you guys a really simple system for coaching. And what a lot of people do is they call their team, toward the last week of the month, they're like, hey, what do you got going in, right? That is not an effective way to coach people, right? So you want it to be about them and helping them reach their goals. Yes, it's a team effort. Yes, it feels really cool to be part of a big team effort, especially when you guys are going for a big goal like this. But the truth is, when you really focus on helping people reach their goal, you're going to reach all your goals, right? You guys have probably heard that saying before. So I want to talk a little bit about coaching before we jump into the process. So let's just talk about a little bit about why coaching is important. And one of the things I love about coaching is I happen to know it is absolutely the single most important thing you can do to help a person move forward towards success. Single most important thing you can do. So think about it, have you ever had a health coach or been in a marathon or a half marathon? I know Lindsay has. I've done a few of those myself, but having a coach or someone to kind of take you through it is really, really important. So it doesn't matter if you're a teacher, a nurse, what it is you're trying to do. If you have a coach and/or/slash mentor, it really, really makes a big difference. And you know what? I think it works both ways, right? To really thrive, you have to be willing to coach your team, and you also have to be coachable. In other words, you have to have coaching. So I know Lindsay and your leaders all reach out to you guys to help you with coaching. And it really makes a big difference. So the focus right now tonight is we're going to talk about coaching other people, right? But I just want you guys to realize kind of both sides of it and how important that is. So let's talk about what coaching is all about. And if I can get interaction, I would love it, because I love getting people to jump in and share. So I'm going to ask you to be bold, be brave, and just jump right in. So so coaching is a specific conversation, and I like to say at a scheduled time, right? Like you might be messaging people back and forth, and that's great support. But a coaching call or Zoom chat or whatever the case may be, I don't care, it's Facebook Live, however you do it. If you can see their face, it's even better, because 50% of communication is body language. So I recommend you do it on Zoom so that you can actually see them. But coaching is different from training. So I know Lindsay knows the answer to this, but I'm curious, how many of you guys know the difference between coaching and training. So anybody want to just unmute, jump right in, be brave. If not, I'll pick on you because, well, I don't know. You don't know me yet, but let me just tell you, I will. So who would like to jump in and just take a guess? I don't care if you have the right answer or not, but what's the difference between coaching and how does it differ from training? Who wants to jump in and be the first brave person? I just feel like Caitlin is going to be brave. I don't know why. Caitlin, are you there?
I am.
Okay, so what would you think about when you think of coaching and training? Any ideas?
When I think of training for something, I think of like doing it by yourself. Like when I was training for a 5K, but I didn't have a coach that was coaching me. So I think it's a difference of doing it with someone or the difference of with someone and then by yourself for training.
Okay, so yeah, that could be one way to think about it, because training could be on your own. Even if you're doing training, through Dash, that could be something you're just sitting there doing on your own. Good. What else? Amy, do you have any other ideas of what coaching and training is?
Well, training could be telling someone how to do it, whereas coaching would be helping them do it on their own.
Okay, good, really good. So yeah, training is mostly telling. And what I like to say is coaching is asking. So what a lot of people think coaching is, they think it's training. They think I got to get on the phone and tell them what to do. But primarily what coaching is all about is about asking questions, right? And so one of the first things I want you guys to write down is the number one rule is the skill of asking questions. In the skill of asking questions is to always ask 3 questions before you tell them anything, right? If somebody says, I can't get parties booked, don't say, oh, well, have you done this? Have you done that? You want to jump in and ask them a question, all right? So what I want you guys to do is I want you to listen to some of these questions that I'm going to ask you. And don't feel like you have to write these down. I'm actually going to send you a copy of these afterwards. Or I don't know if, Lindsay, if you already have this or not. Oh, shoot. Is this recording? I don't see the recording. Oh, that's probably showing on your end. Is it recording, Lindsay? I just want to make sure.
It is. It's recording.
Okay, perfect.
But I don't think I have this PowerPoint.
Oh, you can't see the PowerPoint?
No, I don't think I have it.
Oh, okay, no. So what I was wondering is if I had sent to Caitlin the handouts. I don't know if she sent them to you.
Oh, no, she didn't.
Okay. No worries. So I can send them to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So what I want you to do is just listen, and I want you guys to think about, and there's no wrong answer to this. There's a million different answers for this one, right? But I want you to hear these questions, and these are the good kind of questions that you want to be asking people. And what I want you guys to think about is I can't talk anymore tonight. I've been talking since 5 a.m., so apparently I'm talked out. But what do these questions have in common? All right, so here's some of the questions. What is your goal? Why do you want to achieve that goal? What will it mean to you and your family? What is working in your business? What is not working in your business? Where can you go to expand your circle of influence? Where can you find new customers? What ideas do you have to grow in that specific area? Who do you know who needs more income or just a little bit more fun in their life? How can they learn? Oh, I already said that one. Sorry. What do you need to do to, what do you need to implement first? When will you find the time to implement that? What obstacles could get in your way? And how can you overcome these obstacles? All right. How would you like to be held accountable to this goal? How will you remember to do that? How committed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? How will you celebrate when you reach this goal? What are you passionate about in your business? What are some of the tangible rewards that you receive in this business? What are some of the intangible rewards? What specifically will the income do for your family? Okay, so what do those questions have in common? So just be bold and unmute. Then I don't have to scroll through and call on you guys.
They're open-ended.
All right, Amy, very good. Open-ended. Woo-woo. Okay, good. What else? Who else wants to jump in? Leslie, you look like you're thinking really hard. She's going, dang, she called on me. Any ideas, Leslie?
I was just thinking they all seem to kind of like strike on what motivates them.
Yeah, so it's really all about them. All the questions are all about them. Really good point. Okay. And all of these questions are who, what, when, where, why, and how questions. All right. So they're very open-ended. They really focus on them. And the one thing that I always tell people is I didn't ask any of the D questions. Does anybody know what a D question is? I know Lindsay knows, but she can't answer. Anybody know what a D question is? Have you heard that before? Anybody? No? I'm seeing lots of heads shake. So D questions are do you or did you? So what we tend to do when we're coaching people, we say, well, did you call your, customers that were in your last party? Did you talk to your host? Did you host coach? Did you, do you, did you, do you? And so what I always tell people is you're their mentor, not their mother, right? So when you're doing the do you, did you thing, you sound more like their mother than their mentor. And so when you ask questions, first of all, it removes the judgment of did you and do you. And you don't ever want to, have that judgment, right? But you really are going to help them come up with an answer by asking the open-ended question. The other thing that happens is when you say did you and do you, or what are they going to respond? It's going to be yes or no response, right? And so you're not going to get a lot of information out of that. The other piece of it is, let's say you're working with somebody who's just kind of like, I can't give parties. I've been trying for 3 weeks. And you're saying, did you do this? And they're going, yeah, I did that. You say, well, did you do this? Yep, I did that. Didn't work. Yep, I did that. And it didn't work, right? So eventually, sometimes these people will play the blame game. Like they're saying, I tried everything you told me to. It didn't work. And so what you want to do is remove that responsibility from yourself to them by asking them open-ended questions. And a lot of times people will think, well, how are they going to know what to do? So we're going to come up with that, because sometimes they're going to say that they don't know. All right, so that's kind of the what part. And if you guys have any questions as we go, just put them in the chat, and then Lindsay can ask me. Excuse me. So as far as who you're going to coach, you always are going to be coaching your new consultants. And with your new consultants, it'll be a combination of coaching and training. And if you guys have recruited at least one person in October, I think you all know now that Dash has opened up a whole new fast track coaching training. It's like, how do you get your consultants off to a fast start? So you guys have information where they can learn the training on Dash, and all you're doing really is coaching. And that means you're asking these questions, right? Lindsay, you're familiar with all that, right? The Dash training. Okay. So new consultants, but it is sometimes a little bit of a combination of training and coaching, because sometimes you are doing some telling. And then any consultants that want more, which is all of you that said you are aspiring leaders. You guys are looking to grow. You're looking to build your income. You're looking to expand your influence. Those are people that want to grow. And you guys are looking actually at leadership and being directors, so you're aspiring leaders. But sometimes people just want to double their show schedule from 2 shows a month to 4 shows a month. So it's really for people that are performing and want to move forward. If they're just kind of happy doing their couple shows a month, they may not need coaching. They might just need to reach out to you or message you when they need some support, but they really wouldn't necessarily need coaching. All right, so let's just talk about new consultants for a minute. And I think it's really important to understand the importance of asking these questions and getting the answers to come from them. I really think people do have what it takes to succeed deep down inside, and all you got to do is like pull it out. It's like it's kind of down in that subconscious, and you ask them questions, and all of a sudden they can figure it out. So an example of this is I had a consultant who was having trouble booking parties. And this is when I was in the field. So I was in a different business, but in direct sales. And I said, well, who else could you call? And I was really quiet and she was really quiet, and it gets uncomfortable. Have you ever had that where it's like she doesn't say anything, you don't say anything, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. No one's talking. What's happening? What do I do? And I just want to tell you, don't be uncomfortable, because they're usually thinking. And so you're the only one that's uncomfortable. But the point is not to jump in. I always say whoever talks next owns it. So just let them respond. But anyway, she goes, well, I guess I could call some people from my quilting club. Well, A, I didn't know she even quilted. And secondly, I didn't even know there were still quilting clubs. But like, that's nothing I would have ever come up with. I never would have come up with that idea. So I think what's really important as you start coaching is to remember first how to approach this and how to have the right attitude and really to believing in people, believing in other people. And so as you learn how to kind of coach this method, you're going to find that there are some people that might want to really demand your attention, but they're not really willing to perform. Maybe they can be a negative Nelly, and those are probably not people you need to be coaching because they're not moving forward. And if people just are not acting appropriately and really wanting to move towards growth, sometimes they just want to talk to you because you're so fun, but they really don't need coaching. So you can do that outside of coaching. But your attitude with these people is really important. So I love this quote by John Maxwell that says, when you believe in people, you can motivate them and release their potential. And the next part is super important. People can sense intuitively when a person really believes in them. So it's really funny, guys. You got to really think about belief and how important it is. I know you've probably heard about the belief triangle, right? Over and over again, that your belief determines your action, and your action determines your results, and your results reinforce your belief. So you need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in the company and our industry, but you have to believe in other people, right? I remember sometimes I would get somebody on my team and I'd think, she doesn't have a car. Like, how is she going to make this work? And instead, I would just turn that around in my head to say, wow, it's going to be super cool to see her success story, because she's very determined, to make this happen. So belief in them is really important. I also love this quote that says, anyone can see people as they are, but it takes a leader to see what they can become. So your job is to encourage them to grow in that direction and believe that they will do it. So it's all about focusing on strengths and really believing that they can have success. So let's just kind of go back to that new consultant scenario. Before you're coaching new consultants, the real thing that's really important is that you kind of establish what this experience is going to be like. So I would ask my consultants to, have a notebook, iPad, Evernote, whatever they're going to take notes on, and that they would have at least 30 minutes of complete quiet time. If they had kiddos, I would immediately say, okay, I know you've got 2 little ones, so what time do they take a nap? Like, I don't want them to be on the treadmill. I don't want them to be in the preschool line. I want them to be focused and, really ready to take notes. I want them to have access to their computer if I need to point out something on Dash. So whatever the case may be, right? And I used to tell them, we're not going to fold laundry or do dishes. I won't do it if you won't do it. I never do those things anyway. So no, I'm just kidding. I do occasionally do dishes and fold laundry. But anyway, so really it kind of sets up the expectation of, okay, like, she's serious about this and she's really willing to help me. And so I need to be prepared. So that's kind of the first thing, is just getting people set up for the call. So the next thing I want to talk about is the beginning of this model. So this model is called the GROW model, GROW. And so you'll see up here at the left, can you see my mouse over here? Up on the left? Okay. So this is where you're starting the call, is right here with G. So this is all about the goal, and we're going to be going around this way to talk about this model. So what I want you to do is take a piece of paper, your iPad, just draw this picture with the circle and then the lines in the middle, one going down, one going across, so that you can kind of just draw a rough little picture of what this looks like. So the goal here is the first step. And so there's going to be a couple things you're going to really figure out here. The first thing you're going to figure out is, what is the larger goal for this person? Maybe they want to go to Disney. Maybe they want to fast track. Maybe the big goal for them is to earn $500 cash, right? So you want to establish what that big goal is. And then you want to establish kind of what the goal is for this particular session. Right? So what is it that you want to talk about? So maybe they say, well, I wanted to talk about increasing my show average. And so then the third step to this really is to actually clarify the goal. I know it sounds silly, but it's so important. So I might say, okay, Leslie, so you want to increase your show average. And you're like, well, yeah, because I'm not getting many people there. And I say, so do you want to talk about how to increase your guest attendance, which will increase your show average, or did you want to talk just about your show average? Well, really, I just want to talk about how to increase my guest attendance. So you want to be really specific with them so you can hone in on what's really going to make a difference. Because if you're talking about show average, you could talk about what to change in the party. You can talk about how to use more videos. You can talk about product tips, food tips, I mean, recipes, product knowledge. There's a ton to talk about if you're talking about show average. But if they're just talking about guest attendance, then you can really hone in. So literally by saying, okay, so what I hear you saying is you're frustrated with the number of guests, you know, at your last few shows, and you want to understand what's happening and how you can improve that. And make sure they're really clear. All right. Sounds like it's kind of an elementary move, but it's actually really important to make sure you get it right. Okay. Super easy. We're done with step number 1. All right. You guys with me? Give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Okay, great. So we're going to go, actually, we're going to go to R. R is for reality. All right. So the reality, R stands for reality because it's about what is really happening. So when somebody says, I need to increase my show attendance, what most people just do is they say, okay, well, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. Do you have this? Do you have that? And they're not figuring out what the reality is. And so this is, again, where you ask a lot of questions. Again, avoid the D questions. And what you're going to do is really find out first what they're doing to get attendance. So whatever the problem is, you want to find out what they've already tried. What have they already done, right? So what are you doing now to, you know, work with your host? What are you doing now to get the attendance? And once they say what they're doing, then you're going to use these 3 little words that are tell me more, okay? So you want to really find out a little bit more about exactly what they're doing, what they're saying, when they're doing it, all of that kind of stuff. And this is the time where you want to really listen and take notes. So you want to have some kind of system. We'll talk more about that at the end, but so that you can take notes. All right. I like to use OneNote because it looks just like a notebook, and then it was hard for me to get away from actually using paper. So I use OneNote because it's just like using a notebook. So here's the thing that's really, really important is once you're getting the reality of what's happening, you also want to find out the answer to this question. And what you want to tell people, you're going to tell them kind of this scenario, is that there's really 3 things that lead to success in life. Whether you're a teacher, an accountant, a Pampered Chef consultant, it doesn't matter. 3 things that lead to success in life. And so what do you think those 3 things are? Now, you're going to know these in a few minutes, and you literally could just tell them those 3 things. But what I want you to challenge you to do is to ask them just like I'm doing to you right now. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is when you make people think, they're going to capture it more, they're going to own it more, they're going to dig deep. So they're not just going to hear it and then go, wait, what was it that she had? They're going to really be able to absorb it. So I want you guys to think about people that you know that are successful. What are things that they do? And there are no wrong answers here. All right. Now I'm going to bucket them into one of these 3 buckets, but chances are whatever you say, and I mean, there could be more than 3, but these 3 seem to be the most important, right? And so what I want to know from you guys is, what do successful people do? What do you think those 3 buckets are? All right. Do we have somebody type it in the chat? Persistence. Okay, so Caitlin says persistence. So I love that, Caitlin. And to me, persistence falls into the bucket of habit, because if you're not consistent and persistent, then you are not going to have success. So the first thing I want you to write down is habit. All right. Amy says learning, and Amy's exactly right. So learning is all about skill. All right. So habit is you have to go and do it. Skill is you have to know how to do it. Right? Okay. And then Gayleen, I love it. Written goals. So to me, written goals also fit into the bucket of habit, because if you have your goals written down, then you're going to create a plan to go with that and then implement those habits and strategies. All right. So we have skill and we have habit. What do you think is the other bucket? Keep guessing. I like that you guys are throwing these in the chat. What else could it be? You have to know what to do. Faith. Okay, Leslie, you got it. So here's the thing. To me, faith fits into the belief bucket. You have to believe that it can happen. So I have had people that have every bit of potential and they're actually going out, they're getting some results, but the bottom line is they're lacking belief in themselves, or in others, or in the company, or in the industry, whatever it might be. And that seems to keep holding them back. So skills, habits, and belief are really critical. So again, when you guys are having this conversation with your consultant, skill, habit, belief, there they are. You are not just going to say, okay, Amy, it takes 3 things to be successful: skill, habit, belief. Okay, you're going to not do that. You're going to ask them to think about it. You guys, promise, like the Scouts honor, right? That you're going to do it that way, because it's so much more effective. All right. So what happens when you do that and you say skill, habit, or belief? Now you're going to start moving to options. So what you're going to be doing is helping them think of things they could do. So if I said, okay, Amy, so you said skill. So when you say skill, what do you mean by skill? What is it you need to know how to do? And let's say Amy says, well, I don't know. I feel like I, post what's on the template and I do it in my host coaching, but, I'm just not sure what's happening. And so instead of telling her how to do it right then and there, I'm going to ask her, how do you think you can get better at that? How can you learn that skill? Where can you go to get that information? Right? And so you guys are probably going to know the resources. And if you don't, I really highly recommend that you start kind of keeping lists of where the resources are. So like you might know which course you took in Dash. You might know where a certain document is on Consultant's Corner. You might know that Lindsay has pre-recorded stuff on YouTube, or Stacey Itzel, or Sharon Zellen, or somebody else, where you could send them to gather this information. Right? Now, if you have a document they don't know about that tells them how to have success in this, obviously you're going to, let them know about it. You're not going to keep it a secret, right? So, so you're going to ask them, okay, so they say skill. You're going to find out, tell me more about that. What is it about the skill? And then what can you do? Now, sometimes when let's say they say belief. Sometimes for belief, that's a little trickier, because maybe they've just, have had this negative belief that's been instilled in them in their formative years. And so what I want you to do is think about, what would you say to them if they said belief? So who wants to type in the chat or unmute and come live and say, what question could you ask if they say, I just don't know if I can do it. I've always been told that I'm not going to be successful. I don't know if I can do it. How would you respond to that? Anybody want to type something in the chat or come live and share? I'm just going to be brave.
I think from the get-go, like whenever I'm trying to recruit, I'm always telling people that I know that they could do this, just so that they go into it with that idea. Because a lot of people do say, I don't know if I would have the time, or I don't know if I could, if I would be successful. I think just telling them, I know you could do this, just already builds them up from the beginning.
I love it. Yeah. So you're really pouring your belief into them. I like to tell people you can borrow my belief until you have your own, right? And that's what you're doing, is you're pouring that belief in them, right? That was Caitlin, I think, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Amy says you don't have to listen to what you have heard before. I believe you can. Okay, so that's really good, Amy. Amanda, I believe in you. Let's work on that together. Okay, I love that. So you guys, really good answers, great responses. Like, we're going to work on this together. That's a limiting belief. So what I recommend you do is you learn a little bit about what fear is about so that you can help them through that, because fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And there's tons of books that you can get on overcoming fears, that type of thing. The one thing I tell people is that they literally need to retrain their brain. And so if they've heard, that their mom or dad and, tapping on their shoulder saying, you're never going to succeed, you can't do that. And unfortunately, there are people like that people have had in their life, right? But you have to kind of literally replace that kind of tape. I'm dating myself by saying tape, but guys know what I mean. That voice in your head that is saying you can't do it. And you replace that by learning the truth. And the truth is what you can read in, any kind of book that, deals with belief, and there's tons of them. So if you just Google books on belief or, that kind of thing, you're going to come up with a lot of stuff. But the one question I like to ask people is, so how can you improve your belief in yourself? And you guys, that's such a powerful question. Most people, nobody's ever asked them that question. I mean, you're going to make a big difference in this person's life just by asking them that question. So, I don't care if it's, a book. I don't care if it's a good sermon on Sunday. I don't care if it's listening to national conference webinars that are on Dash. I don't care what it is, but they have got to get some positive truth in their brain versus the lies they've been told all their life, right? So that's skill. And then habit usually has to do with consistency. So, usually it's about, making contacts 99% of the time. It's about when are they going to do it? How are they going to do it? Are they actually calendaring it? Are they tracking it? Helping them to have some accountability and asking them, would you like accountability? Because most people that want growth will be happy to have the accountability. All right. So that's how you deal with skill, habit, and belief. Now, what if she says, I don't know, right? I thought this little girl's face was so cute. So what I always tell people is you have to think about how you would respond. Now, this sounds silly, but I've said this to people. And I would say something like, well, if you did know, what would you do? And then they're kind of like, what? And like, let's just think about it for a minute. And so let's just think about it for a minute is like kind of like we're doing this together. We're both thinking, but what she doesn't know is I am not giving her the answer, right? He, her, or him. So here's the thing, you guys, you've got to be quiet and let them think. Because as much as I've learned about coaching through, I have gone through the certification program through the John Maxwell team, and they talk about the importance of letting people think and how they get into their subconscious brain, and then all of a sudden stuff just comes out. Because we really do have what we need to come up with this information. And so what I always tell people, you have to just be quiet and listen to what they think. I always tell people, put your hand over your mouth if you need to, but, because we want to just jump in and help them, right? You can use duct tape if necessary, whatever it takes, but don't just jump out and give them the answer. As a matter of fact, right now on your piece of paper, I want you to write these letters, okay? And I want you to write them down, not across like you would write a word, right? W-A-I-T. Okay, W at the top, and then A, and then I, and then T. Does anybody know for what W-A-I-T stands for? I bet Lindsay knows. Do you know, Lindsay? She's now putting her on the spot. Anybody?
I'm not sure if I do. I'm sure I've heard it.
Okay, that's all right. You won't forget it after tonight, right? So W-A-I-T stands for why am I talking? Guys, we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, and we have to let them think and come up with some answers. All right, so the fewer answers you give them, the better. The more answers that come from them, the better. I mean, have you ever just found yourself rattling off all of these ideas one after another, and they're going, well, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. So studies show that if they come up with the ideas, they are much more likely to implement it, because people don't argue with their own data, right? And so they're not going to argue with their own idea. Okay, so eventually they will come up with it. So I had a leader on my team who was a real processor, very analytical, very logical, and she had to think things through. And I will tell you, sometimes her pauses, I mean, 30 seconds is a long pause, but she would pause like for 2 minutes. And sometimes I have to be like, are you still there? and she always said, yes. She goes, I'm still here. I'm just thinking. And that's how she processed things. And she was one of my most successful consultants, because I really had to be patient and sit and listen to stillness while she was thinking about it. Okay, you guys with me so far? Any questions or comments, just put them in the chat. All right, how you feeling so far about this? Good, bad, up, down? All right. All right, so last one is W, which stands for what will you do? What will you do? All right, so let's see. Loving all the info. Okay, good. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. All righty, so what will you do? So now under options, what happened is, you know, you're saying, where could you learn this information? She's going, well, I could do this. And you're going, okay, great. And what else could you do? Well, I could go here, I could do this, I could do that. So now that you have all the options, on the W, it's going to be about looking at the options and picking 1 or 2 that you're going to implement. All right. Don't give her 12 things to do, or him. Sorry, I don't know if we have guys on here or not, but don't give them 12 things to do. Have them pick 1, 2, or 3 things to do. That's like max. And you're going to have them pick a time frame, and you're going to have them put it on their calendar, and you're going to have them let you know when they have accomplished it. I always recommend 48 to 72 hours, because people are most likely to act if they do it immediately. So I usually say, so what would you like to set that goal for? 24 hours, 48 hours, 72? What would work for you? And most people pick 48 or 72, right? So this is where you're really creating the action plan based on the things they came up with. And again, sometimes with new people, you may have to offer some ideas, but that's really, really, really for the last resort. All right. So you're going to ask questions like, okay, so which one of these things would you like to implement first? Okay, what else would you like to implement? All right, and then anything else. And I specifically ask it that way because I don't want them to get any more. Right, so when you say what else, they almost always will give you another. When you say anything else, it kind of shuts it down. And if they still think there's something, they'll let you know, right? And so let's say they choose habit. Like I said, mostly this is about contacts. And they need to really get down to the details. At this point, you might feel like you're micromanaging them, but this person needs it if they have a problem with consistency. How many of you know people that they're just like, they make a big plan, and sometimes we're like this ourselves, right? And you got these big plans, but then you're like all over the place, and then you check your email, then you get your parties, and then you do stuff, and then it's like, oh, I never did the thing I said I was going to do, right? I mean, we are all guilty of this occasionally, right? So I might say something like, okay, so you've got 3 days left in the month, right? You know, how many contacts would you like to make? So it's really important when you give the call to action, it's about activity and not result. All right, Galen, very helpful, definitely guilty. Yes, so good. I'm glad somebody can admit their faults like me. So questions you might want to ask them, for example, is let's say they want to make 5 contacts, but you know they want to book 5 shows. So what you might have to do is help them with a little bit of a reality check that all 5 of those people, A, are not going to be home or answer their call, their text, their message, right? And usually only half the people you reach out to will respond. And you guys should figure out kind of what your ratios are. Like if you were to do a contact blitz, and if I said for the next 30 minutes, just send text messages or Facebook messages or emails or make phone calls for the next 30 minutes, how many people do you think you could reach out to? And so you guys need to think about that. So you'll start establishing what your numbers are. And if you don't track your contacts, this is one of the best ways to do it, because you'll figure it out. All right. And so, so they might say, well, if I'm trying to reach 5 people, I need to call 10. Okay. So I would say, okay, so maybe 5 people will call you back. So out of those 5 people that message you back, call you back, whatever it is, whatever form they're reaching out in, how many do you think will say yes? And they might be going, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that, like maybe 2. So they may want to change their numbers. All right. So you're going to help them to kind of understand that usually half the people are going to be around and respond. And then out of those people, usually 1 in 5 will book a show. For some people, they say it's more like 1 in 10. All right. So it's not about somebody saying, like, first of all, I don't ever tell people what their goal is. So if they say my goal is to get 6 parties, I'm going to say, okay, what do you need to do to reach that goal? And it's based on contacts. I don't say book 6 parties, because if they don't get 6 parties, they're going to feel like they failed. But if they say that they, book 1 in 5, and so they're willing to call 30 people or message 30 people, fantastic. That's the goal. How many people they're going to reach out and message? You guys got what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And if they really want to, communicate with 30 people, they probably need to reach out to 60, right? And so that sounds like a lot, but, most of you, I bet if I looked on your Facebook pages, you probably have 200, 300, 400 friends, right? And that's not talking about all the people who aren't on Facebook. So people have a lot more contacts than they think they do. All right. So here's what I always tell people is, so how would you like to share your results with me? Because I'm excited to see what will happen. And they'll say, well, I will send you a text. Okay, great. So we set up 48-hour goal. So today is Monday. In Colorado, it's 10 till 8. That's where I live, by the way. So I would say by Wednesday at 8 o'clock, you'll message me. And they'll say, yeah. And I say, okay, so, and again, it sounds micromanaging, but some people need this. And I'd say, well, how will you remember to do that? I'm going to put an alarm on my phone, because you're right. It's going to be 8 o'clock. I'm going to be tired. I'm probably going to forget. So you're literally going down to the nitty gritty. And then I say, so when will you do these calls? Like, look at your calendar. Let's see what's happening today, tomorrow. This is when you get results, you guys, when you're really guiding people on how to make sure this happens. And so they might say, well, I could message for about 30 minutes as soon as I get off the phone. Then I got to go pick up my kids, and then we're busy the whole rest of the day. But tomorrow morning I could message for 30 minutes. And you know what I mean? They're figuring it out. All right. So then here's what you guys want to know from them, because you don't need to get this whole big, long, like story of who said what and all of that. Not yet. I mean, you'll talk about some of those things who could help them to get better results. But always what I tell them is I want to know, how many did you reach out to? That's the first thing I want to know. All right. The second one is how many responded. And the third is results. So reach out, respond, results. How many did you reach out to? How many responded? And what were the results? And by results, I mean bookings or people that are interested in the business. Because when you guys are working with them, you're going to make sure you're giving them wording that deals with booking and recruiting, hopefully in the same sentence, right? Because you always want to focus on recruiting first, because it's harder to get the recruit. And if they don't join you, then book a show with them, right? So that's the thing to think about. That's really important. And so then I say, okay, great. I'm going to put a note in my calendar, and then they hear me start, typing on my thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a note in my Outlook that you're going to contact me, send me a message 8 o'clock on Wednesday. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, wow, she's holding my feet to the fire. And that's exactly what most people want, is that kind of accountability. All right. And the reason this is important, you guys, is if you're going to coach people on a regular basis, you have to make sure that they're taking the action steps that they said they were going to take. All right. So then this call, instead of being called the GROW method, becomes the U GROW, with a U in front of the G. And the U stands for update. Because on your next call, before you even start the call, they're going to send you an update. I mean, they're probably doing it in 3 days, because that's what they said they were going to do. but then you're going to find out if anything else had happened based on that call, right? Now, what I recommend you do, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, is you have a simple little coaching sheet with 5 questions. Like, what are you most excited about in your business? Might be the first question. The second question might be, what did you accomplish since our last call? And they definitely need to have those 3 things written in there and how those went. All right. The third thing might be, what do you need help with on this call? Or what would you like the goal of this call to be? That type of thing. So I can send you guys a little coaching sheet you can use. It's super simple, 5 simple questions. Okay. So that's why it's important. So when I coach people, I always tell them, like, if they're going to be coaching with me on a regular basis, is I really ask for 3 things. I ask that we, if you have to cancel your call, you cancel 24 hours in advance. The second thing is I need your coaching sheet back 24 hours in advance. And the third thing is you have to do the call to action that you will create. Right? And as a matter of fact, when they create the call to action to create clarity, I message it back to them and I say, here's what I have for your call to action. Let me know if I missed anything, or let me know if I got anything wrong. Just message me back. And then I would say, okay, so Lindsay, put this under number 2, cut and paste this right now under number 2 on your coaching sheet, because these are your action steps. I know you're going to do this in the next 48 hours, but we want to talk more about this on our next call too, so that we can, find out what happened. Now, let's say that Lindsay says she's going to make 60 contacts, and her coaching sheet says that she made 43 contacts. Because I get that the day before, I'm going to say, hey, Lindsay, I noticed you made 43 contacts. Way to go. That's super exciting to see that you reached out. Now, I know you committed to 60, so when you call, you're able to make those other 17 contacts. Let me know when you're finished, and then we'll have our call. And so Lindsay's like, okay, she's holding my feet to the fire. And you guys, trust me, this when I first started doing this was hard, because I felt like, I'm being like the mean mom. But really what you're doing is you're holding them accountable. And I remember a leader of mine who was a mentor who I dearly loved said, here's the thing. When you don't hold people accountable, do you know what you're really doing? And I was like, what? And she said, what you're really saying to them is, I don't care about you or your goals. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it could have stabbed me in the heart. That would have been less painful, right? Because I do care about them and their goals. And so it was really powerful to hear this, because I had a terrible disease when I was coaching these people. It's called WCS. Do you guys know what that disease is? Wimpy coach syndrome. Like, they would tell me, their dog broke his toenail, and I'd be going, oh my gosh, how'd he do that? Is he okay? Like, it's a toenail. He's going to be fine, right? So, people would come up with all kinds of, excuses and reasons why they didn't want to do things. And, I would go, oh, well, it's okay. It's okay. It's not okay, because they asked me to hold them accountable. And so they're not going to have success if I don't hold them accountable. And you guys, all of this great coaching in the world is not going to work if you don't hold them accountable. So we're going to talk about that. Accountability. All right. Like I said, all the great coaching in the world is not going to move them forward if you don't hold them accountable. And I used to be afraid of this word. I just thought that, this was people being mean, right? But this is really important. So I'm going to give you a definition. So here's a definition of accountability that I really like. And it says the quality or state of being accountable. Okay, that makes sense. And here's the part I really like, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. All right. So this is about them accepting the responsibility and to account for their actions. That's why I don't set the goal. They set the goal. They tell me the number of contacts they want to make, what they want to do. So it's really important to hold people accountable, because they're really saying, I need this. How many of you feel like you need accountability? Anybody? And when you get that, it really helps you to succeed. All right. And I think that The key words there is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. This is kind of was an aha moment for me, because it wasn't something I was doing to them, right? It was something that they were doing on their end, and I was holding them accountable for them, for, you know, for their betterment. So my role as the leader is to be solid and unwavering, and really to help them with those boundaries. Okay. Let's see, was somebody putting something in the chat? I'm very thankful that Lindsay held me accountable. Oh, I love it. Very good. Okay, so next, oh, guess what? I got the wrong thing here. All right, I think I actually kind of covered this part. It was a little bit more about accountability. So you want to really work on a relationship with your team. So I'm going to give you the definition of retention real quick. So just write this down. This is not an activity, by the way. So just write this down. Definition of retention is relationships plus results. Relationships plus results. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys a question. And I want you to think about this before you answer. And I want you to think about two types of people. And people tend to be either more task oriented, like they've got their checklist, they're checking things off their list, they got their things to do, and they are going to be sure they check those things off that list. They're very task oriented. They cannot survive without their to-do list, right? And they are focused on getting results, making things happen, checking off the list. And then you have people that are very people oriented. Like it's super important that they connect with people, talk to people, meet people. They love people. They love learning about people. So my question to you, and you can type it in the chat, and you guys, sometimes you're, you know, like just a little bit more one way than the other, like maybe 51%, 49%, but you probably know if you're more people-oriented or if you're more task-oriented. And so again, even if it's just 51%, 49%, and I'm going to ask kind of in a work environment, because sometimes at home it can be different, right, than when you're working. But I want you to think about when you're working, even though you work from home, but you're not hanging out with your family, having lunch, doing kid things or whatever, you are working your business. So would you type in the chat if you're more task-oriented or if you're more people-oriented? All right, oops, I didn't mean, I keep doing that. I'm flipping the slide, sorry. All right. So Amber says task, task, task. Caitlin is task. Kayla is task. Amy is people. Lisa is task. Jamie is task. You guys are going to get a lot accomplished here. People. Sandy is people. Okay. So, and the truth is, you guys, go ahead and you can keep answering, but it takes both. All right. So task-oriented people are going to help people get results. All right. That's the part of the equation of retention. The other part of it, remember, was relationships. So you do have to build a relationship. You have to find out a little bit about them, about their family, you know, make sure that you have a working relationship and you don't just get on the phone and go, okay, so what are we focusing on first? You know, especially if they're one of those personalities that's very people focused, they're going to feel like, wow, she really doesn't care about me as a person. She just wants to know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to produce. And so it's about both. So task is related to the results, and people-oriented people are related to the relationship. So if you're people-oriented, you're probably going to have stronger relationships than results. You're going to have to work on making sure you focus on the training and the accountability and the coaching, right? If you're one of those people that's naturally very task-oriented, then you've got to work on building the relationship, finding out about them, what do they want, learn about their family, what are their goals, where do they work, what's their why, all of those things. Because relationships plus results is what's going to move people. And when you think about it, the number one and the number two reason people leave a direct sales business are related to relationships and results. The number one reason people leave direct sales business is lack of connection to their recruiter or to their upline. And if they feel like that person didn't care about them, they're going to be out of there. And then the second reason people leave is lack of results. They said they wanted to earn $500 a month. They're not earning it. They're done. You didn't provide enough training and enough very specific strategies to help them to move forward, right? Or tell them where they can get them. And then sometimes people leave just because they decide they're not willing to do the work, and that has nothing to do with you. Okay, so keep that in mind. Everybody wants to win the lottery, but some people don't even buy the ticket. So, we can all want to lose 20 pounds, but not eat healthy or exercise or get rest or drink enough water. We all want $1 million, but what are we willing to do to get it? And that's where coaching comes in. Okay, so hope that makes sense to you guys. So what I really encourage you guys is to extend a personal invitation to coach with someone. When you offer them that opportunity and you tell them what you see in them and how you believe in them, that's what's going to make people want to engage in that relationship. And I encourage you guys to think about, your coaching relationship with Lindsay or whoever you work with and how that started. Chances are leaders initiate communication. So chances are they didn't just say, hey, call me if you need anything. All right. I mean, they might say that to you in addition, but they specifically reached out and said, hey, we need to set up some time to talk to get your business started. Maybe it was a group coaching call, and there might be some individual coaching that followed along with that as well. All right. So that's kind of the basics of what I wanted to share with this. I want to talk just for a second about systems. And this is what I was saying earlier. So I use the one on the left, that big N stands for OneNote. That's a Microsoft product. How many of you have OneNote? Anybody? If you have a Windows-based computer, you have it already on your computer. So OneNote, Evernote, whatever you use to keep track. I used to use like notebooks like this, and then I would just have, like a section where if I was working with Lindsay, there you go. And then I would have, a tab for M, and anybody's last name again with M, it was in there alphabetically, right? But now I keep it in my OneNote because it's searchable and it makes it a lot easier. So the thing is, you guys, you want to take notes because then you're going to know what their call to action is, and then you can start with that call to action. As far as calendaring it, you can use your Outlook or Google Calendars or whatever it is you use to calendar it. I still have a paper note calendar as well as as a digital calendar just to double check myself. But find a system that works for you. And really honor the person that you're coaching by looking back at your notes before you start coaching with them. And pull up their numbers and know where they're at and really focus on helping them to succeed. Old-fashioned over here, pen and paper, I love it. Doesn't get any better than pen and paper. I just switched to Google Calendar. I'm too unorganized for pen and paper. Oh, I love that. I'm impressed. I feel like I'm too unorganized with paper. So I'll tell you about a really cool system I have. It's called MBP. All right, you might want to write that down. M like Mary, B like boy, P. It stands for Managed by Pile. No, I'm just kidding. So, don't write it down. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't be like me. But you know how sometimes you just get your pile just perfect and you like set it aside and you're like, don't touch that pile. I know what's in it. So no, but you should find a better system than a pile. All right, so here's kind of the call to action. And I did tell Lindsay I'd stay on for a couple minutes to share something that I thought was a super cool system. But first, I want to give you kind of this call to action. So what I want you guys to think about is, who do you want to call and invite them to start coaching calls with you? And I want you to look for those performers. I want you to think about those people that are new. All your new consultants should have coaching, right? And, if they say no, they're not interested in coaching, that's okay. Just let them know I'm just a text away, a phone call away. If you need anything, I'm here for you, right? And still, reach out to them occasionally, but you don't need to call those people every month. If they're not in the game, it's okay. They're going to reach out to you if they need you. And I really recommend you just start calling everybody and just finding out. You never know who might want coaching. And if they don't, just call the next person. So here are some words to use. And like I said, you always want to tie this in with a compliment. So it says, I noticed you've been very consistent in your sales, and you are also doing an amazing job of building great relationships. I see so much potential in you. I'm wondering if you'd like to get more out of your business. And then, pause, let them respond. And it doesn't matter what they say, you can still add this. Whether they say, well, I don't know, I'm not sure. You can still say, you're someone I'd really love to work with. I'd love to hold just a 30-minute call or Zoom chat, whatever it is. And you might even just start with one. You might not even say once a week, and just find out if that's something they're interested in. And if they're not, it's okay, because you don't need to spend time with people that, don't really want to grow. So let's stop there to see if you guys have any questions right now. Anything that pops into your mind when you think about what you've heard so far. And no question is off limits. And then I'm going to give you one really cool thing that one of our nationals is doing that I thought was super smart. So any questions or comments? If you don't have a question, I want each of you to comment with what's one thing that you learned on this call. Like, what's the favorite thing that you've heard so far on this Zoom chat that you would like to implement? All right.
Cathy, could you just clarify one thing? If someone is wanting coaching from you, but they're not completing the call to action, you're not obligated to schedule another call. Like, because I think that sometimes you get into the habit, like someone wants a call, but they're not performing, or they're not, doing those call to actions. And so we feel obligated, where our time, if you get 5, 7, 10, how many ever people on your team, that even that like 15 minutes with someone who's not, kind of holding up their end of the deal is taking that away from someone else. So do you agree, or?
Yeah, so here's a really simple way to handle that. So, when, let's say I'm just, coaching somebody and they're just really just trying to get the bookings, but that they're kind of giving you some excuses, right? So let's say they agreed that they were going to make 20 contacts. And so I say, how did the contacts go? I should know that, because they should send me their form back ahead of time. Now, you don't always have to do this form with brand new consultants. Sometimes it's just kind of too much for them, but get them rolling a little bit. And then once they're committed to growing and getting more, then you can start using the form, because sometimes that's just a little bit too intimidating for some new people. But still, if these consultants say, I'm going to call 30 people within the next 48 hours. And if they do not do that, I would say, okay, so Lindsay, I know you said you were going to call 30. You were able to call 6, which is fantastic. So you praise any progress. And you say, but 6 is a good number, but it didn't get you the results you wanted, did it? And you're going to say no. And you're going to say, so I'm going to give you the gift of time. We've scheduled 30 minutes for this call. So go ahead and make the rest of those contacts right now, since you've got this 30 minutes set aside. All right. They can't say anything to that, because they can't say, well, I can't now, because they scheduled 30 minutes with you, right? Or 15 minutes with you, whatever it is. And so that's when you say, I'm going to give you this gift of time. Go ahead and do that now. And when you're done, let me know, and then we'll reschedule our call. Okay. Now, let's say that then they call you and say, hey, I just need a coaching call. I just need some help on this. Then I would say, great. How did your other 24 calls go? Well, I haven't been able to do them. I don't know. I just don't have the time. I just don't. Okay. And then I would say, Lindsay, honestly, I can't take you from point A to point B until you've done point A. I want to help you succeed, but you got to do the first step. Now, if Lindsay's like, well, I'm just scared and I haven't figured it out, and she truly wants to do this, and I can see her heart and she's trying to make it happen, and she's like, I just need a little bit more help with the wording or the whatever, then yeah, I'm going to jump on a call with her. But if I see a habit that she's consistently not doing what I ask her to do, usually 2 or 3 times at max, and then it's like, then I'm saying, listen, you can reach out to me if you need help, but I do need you to just take a few steps so that you can make this happen. And you have to have some grace with new consultants in the beginning. You can't say, well, you didn't do this, so guess what? I'm done with you, So, and don't ever say that, by the way, please. So, but sometimes you do have to bless and release. How many of you have those people that keep saying they're going to do it and then they don't do it? Anybody have that? And they don't take action. And so you do have to bless and release. But I'm really big on the bless part. And what I mean by that is don't say, well, Susie keeps saying she's going to do this, and if she didn't help her husband at his dentist's office, and if she wasn't always working at the school, and if she wasn't doing this, it's her life. She gets to decide. So there should be no judgment there. But what I would do is say, okay, Susie Q, listen, when you're ready to do this, you're going to be amazing. You reach out to me when you're ready, because I know you're going to rock it when you're ready. And that is truly a definition of blessing and releasing, not making them feel bad, feel guilty. You should never make your consultants feel guilty, stupid, judging them. You got to let go of that stuff. So does that help, Lindsay? I know it was a long answer to a short question. So, all right, so let's just look at some of the takeaways here. Pause to have them pull their answers on their own, be specific with goals. Yeah, so being specific really is a big eye opener to a lot of people. Caitlin says, I'm guilty of talking too much during the calls. I'm going to try to let them think more and come up with their answers. Good. I needed to hear that holding them accountable is not being mean. I know, I'm like, I don't want to be mean. I love people. Amber, the biggest takeaway from me is to wait. I tend to give them the answers, tell them their goal, and don't have them come to it on their own. Good for you guys. These are awesome. Hold them accountable. Do not do it for them. And that is really important. Helping to grow their belief in themselves. Gayleen, I love that. Also holding them accountable is okay. I struggle with this one. Yep, you'll get through it. It's hard in the beginning. Lisa, I'm a direct person, so wait was definitely something I need to hear. Yeah, direct people don't really know how to wait, so you might need duct tape. No, I'm just kidding. Hold them accountable, focusing on too much on people who don't do it. Yeah, okay, so you got to let go of those people. All right. Okay, so real quick, I just want to share with you guys, this is something that can really help you, even if you don't have all of your, if you don't have directorship yet, or if you do have directorship. As you're working with your people, what you're going to want to do is to use this sheet to figure out and kind of project where your sales are going to be. All right, so you can see here where it says dollars to team. In other words, what are their sales going to be and number of parties. And so this would be for like the first person on your team. You could put their name in here and then number of parties that they're going to have. So here's kind of an example. So this is Cathy G's team. She has Mary, Samantha, Barb, Christy, and Jen on her team. All right, so you're reaching out to them, and one of the things you always want to do on every call is say, okay, tell me about your show schedule. So you know when their shows are starting, how many they have. I always found out about their host coaching, how many are going so far, so find out about how successful that show is going to be. Then, of course, you're going to help them with the recruiting, the booking within the show, and the follow-up, right? So what is happening here is you're going to see, okay, Mary said she had one party. So the part you don't know is Mary told me she had 2 parties, but I'm always going to knock one off. So because I know what happens, usually 20 to 30% of our shows cancel or reschedule, right? And until people are strong in their booking skills and their host coaching, it could be even higher than that. All right, so pretty much for anybody that tells me less than 3 shows, I'm going to knock off at least one of those. All right, now it just so happens that Mary's party average is 400, so that's what I'm going to put there. So Samantha told me she had 2 parties, but I'm only going to put 1 because I would rather underestimate it than overestimate it. Samantha has a $525 show average. All right, Barb is not responding. And even though I might love Barb, and Barb told me like a month ago she was going to have parties, if Barb is not responding, she gets 0. And then if we get something, it's just a bonus. Okay, Christy, she's going to do 4 parties, and I put 4 because she told me she's doing 6. So if somebody tells me 6, I'm going to bump off at least 2. She has a $345 show average, so when you take that times 4, you get $1,380. And then, of course, I have Jen over here. She has a $451, show average. And, oh, there she is. And she told me 2, so I booked 1. So then what you do is you go through and you add all of this up, and then you know exactly what you need to be doing. So this should happen twice, at least in the month, as far as getting their parties. First week of the month is usually when you're really talking about their goals, helping them through this. I know some people choose to do it in the 3rd week of the month for the next month, which is fantastic. I love that because then you're really planning ahead. All right, but then just a check-in again, like the 2nd week of the month, maybe figuring out where they're at so that you're not waiting till the last week of the month, right? How stressful is that? So what a lot of successful teams are doing right now is really booking their last week of the month super heavy, and then their first 2 weeks of the month heavy, and then the 3rd week just kind of a normal week. Because some people, you know, we know all these virtual parties don't always close in that last week of the month, and a lot of teams are starting the month with like $500 or $1,000 in sales right off the bat, and then by their first week with their heavy bookings, they're qualified, sometimes by the 2nd week. So really, guys, it's just a matter of shifting your week so that you know you can be green. And of course, since this team is going for executive director, it's so important that everybody's green. You, your entire team, everybody wants to be green. And of course, I know you guys want that blanket, so you're going to be more than green because that stadium blanket's super cool. Who's gotten theirs already? Anybody gotten theirs already? Yay! I saw Amy raise her hand. Everybody else is not showing me their beautiful faces. Anyway, so here's where you find your show average if you don't know. Okay, this happens to be Steve's. He shared this with all the execs, so I'm sure he doesn't mind if I share with you. So you go here to overview, and then you go down here to your performance details, and then you're going to look up here. So KFB shows are cooking shows. Some of you probably don't even know what those are. And then catalog shows are where your virtual parties accumulate. So this left side is your month-to-date number, and the right side is your year-to-date number. Now, if you've got all these little smiling faces on the right side, you're going to need to move them so you can see this. And so this is year-to-date. So his month-to-date, oh, hello, why did that happen? Okay, sorry, that's not lined up right. So you can see anyway, right now he has a very high month-to-date virtual party average is 892. It's below the 0, and 664 was his year-to-date virtual party average. And so this is where you find this so you can know exactly kind of what you're looking for. Because have you ever been thinking about, oh my gosh, am I going to make it? I don't know what these people have. How do I estimate this? So that is my little tip for how you're going to estimate that. So any questions on that? Does that make sense? Yes, no? Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense. No. Okay, Amy's saying no. So Amy, tell me what you need more help with.
Where did you find this? Because you were on the other one, the one before, the slide before this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you go to Consultants Corner,
all
right, this is your consultant connection.
Okay.
So all you do is when, you know how the new dash system on the left, it says Explore. Click on the Explore button and then click on Reports.
Okay.
And you'll click on Consultant Connection Summary. And this is where then all of a sudden you get back. This is an old screen, right? Because we've got kind of the new screen that you see in the old screen. And then if you just go to this Overview tab right here, you know how you can click on your performance tracker, you can click on your order history, go to your overview, and then click on performance details.
Okay.
Okay, does that help?
So this shows everybody's?
So this is going to show, you have to look up each person. And
Okay.
so you can look up yours first, so you know what yours is. And then if you're working with Susie, you can look at hers. Lindsay, is there a report that shows everybody's average on one page? I don't think there is.
But you can go to, you can click on performance tracker and then click on the person and then click on performance details. Or you can go to year at a glance. And you can see how many shows they've submitted and then like their monthly sales. So it doesn't, I mean, you could do the math.
Yeah.
But if you go to performance tracker, click on their name, and then performance details, it will show you like individually. You have to go like person by person, unless you do year at a glance and then like get out your calculator and
okay,
do it that way.
If you want to do math, go for that. And if you don't want to do math, do it this way.
Yeah. You don't want to do
it's
math.
Only sixth grade math, but it can be confusing, right?
Yeah.
So you can get to performance details from performance tracker, unless it's different.
Yeah, performance tracker, and then you click on the person's name, and then it brings up this screen.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that'll bring up their name. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So there's a couple ways to get there, but it gets you to the same place. So, but what was that?
Thanks.
Nope, I hear a child. The child just said thanks. It sounded like, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. All right, guys. So I kept you a little bit over, but I hope that is helpful information for you guys. And I'm cheering your team on. You guys are rocking it this month. So I'm watching you guys. And I know everybody at home office has been talking about this amazing team. So you guys keep up the good work. We're really excited to see what's going to happen this month. But with this kid offer, man, people are going crazy. So. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Judy said that they had to reorder aprons.
Oh, really?
Because they were running out of aprons to send with kits.
Oh, man, that's
a good problem to have. Yeah, she said that today on Director of Success. So that was
you guys, we are about to set a record. I mean, like, we've set some records that haven't happened since like 2005 or 2011. What we're going to do this month, I think, is going to blow every record out of the water. So whatever your recruit says right now, like usually what happens is 2/3 of your recruits come in. I mean, half of your recruits come in the first 2/3 of the month, like the first 20 days. And then you can double that. So do you know where you are so far for the month for recruits, Lindsay?
I was going to update it after this one. We had welcomed 27 when I looked last. Yeah. But I just had somebody join, and I know there have been multiple today. So
So let's say you have 30 now. It would not be impossible if you guys have 30 more in the next 10 days.
Yeah.
To hit 60.
I have a lot of people who are waiting because they either went on vacation middle of the month or they want to work more in November. So they're going to sign up like the 29th or 30th. Driving me crazy.
Yeah, I bet. Well, you know what? There's those people that will wait. If you keep calling, there's those people that are going to sign up now, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, gosh, it's so exciting what's going to happen. So you guys are amazing. Lindsay's always bragging about you guys. So keep up the good work. And Lindsay, let me know if you need anything else. All right.
All right. Well, I kind of want to hear how you got 5 people to sign up on Halloween.
Oh, I forgot about that story. Okay.
Do you mind?
Yes, I will. All right. So we had something called President's Club. So we had to recruit and qualify 26 people, and I had 21, and I had set a goal with this gal to do it with her. And I remember calling her up mid-October going, I haven't recruited anybody this month. And she's like, well, I've got 3, so you better hurry up. I only got 2 more to go. And I was like, I've got 5 to go, So anyway, I was determined to make it happen. But I had procrastinated, unfortunately. And I'd made a few calls, but I hadn't really made it a priority. So on the 30th, she kind of, held my feet to the fire. It's that accountability thing we were talking about, right? And she's like, you have to do this. You committed to doing this. So I literally started picking up the phone. And this is back in the day. We didn't have email. We didn't have text messaging. So you literally had to just call. Well, we had email. I'm not that old. But we didn't have text messaging, and we didn't have Facebook, is what I meant to say. And I just started reaching out to people. Well, here's the two things that made the difference. Is when I wrote down the list for each person, I wrote down two things. And these two things were what they could do for Pampered Chef and what Pampered Chef could do for them. Okay, what they could do for Pampered Chef, what Pampered Chef could do for them. And what they could do for Pampered Chef is a compliment. This is me saying something about them that I happen to know about them. And if you don't know this, you got to ask them some questions so you can learn something to be able to compliment them, right? Because recruiting is a lot about confidence, you guys, not only on your part, right, to ask them, but on their part to be able to say yes. And so if I were to say, Lindsay, I think this would be a great business for you because you're just so outgoing and such a fun person, that's going to go over so much better than me just saying, Lindsay, you should sell Pampered Chef, right? So the other piece of it is I tied in their need. So I asked enough questions so I know what they might need, right? So one of the people I called was my cousin Laura, and we had just been at a birthday party, and she was telling me how she'd quit to be home with a second child, and she was feeling the pinch of missing her full-time income. And I didn't even think about it at that time, which is silly, but you know, or maybe I did, and I was like, I don't know if this is the right place. I was hesitating because of fear, right? And I'd only been in the business a couple years, so I still had some fear, but I was recruiting people too, so I had gotten through some of it. But anyway, I literally wrote down those two things, and I called her up and I said, you know, I remember last week we were at the birthday party and you were talking about you were feeling the pinch of missing the full-time income. And what popped into my mind is like, you should be doing this business with me. And before I let her say anything, I said, besides, like, you quit a month ago and you're already the president of the PTA, you volunteer at Bible study. I mean, you're like doing so many things, you know so many people, you would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, chances are if I wouldn't have added that in there, she would have been, I don't know. But then she was like, really? And I'm like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you kidding? So it's all about really focusing on them. And you guys, this takes away the concept of being pushy, because I told her why she'd be good at this and why it would be good for her. That's all you have to do, but just make a list and start reaching out to people. I don't care if they're your potential recruits. I don't care if they are your friends, your family, your relatives, your neighbors, you know, somebody who's in the same situation as you, somebody who loves Pampered Chef, somebody who loves to cook, somebody who hates to cook. Make your own categories up and just start reaching out to people. Because you guys, you got to recruit in your parties, but you got to recruit outside of your parties, because there are some people that aren't going to be in your parties, and you got to find them. And if you do that, I mean, I literally made calls until like my fingers were falling off, but I ended up getting 5 recruits on Halloween Day, signed, sealed, and delivered. So then I had to qualify them all, which they all did. So, so I did earn the prize. But if I can get 5 recruits in one day, you can get 5 recruits in the next week, right? Well, you've got what, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. So, and some of you only need 2 or 3 recruits. But when you use that approach, people feel special because you thought of them and you told them why they would be good and how this could make their life better. So does that help, Lindsay? All right. Any questions on that?
I love that.
It's kind of a fun story.
I want to challenge everybody. I don't care if you need 2 or 3, but I want to challenge you to add 5.
I love it.
Everyone.
So what you have to think about is how many do you need to reach out to get 5? Like I said, like how many A are going to respond, and B, how many are going to say yes. So with recruiting, sometimes it's 1 in every 10.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, even if you reach out to 5 in the next 24 hours, you're going to start getting results. So I'll back up Lindsay's challenge with to reach out to at least 5 within the next 24 hours. So
I think there's 11. There was 11 on our call.
Mm-hmm.
That would be absolutely amazing.
Yeah. How cool would that be?
If we reached out to enough people to welcome 55 new people in the next 10 days.
How exciting
First
is
of
that?
all, we're going to have a really full schedule for November.
Yeah,
Right?
I know.
Not everybody's going to say yes.
And you guys, to promote by the end of this month, how powerful is that going to be? Because you're going to get paid this month, which is one of the strongest months. Next month is another strong month. So take advantage of getting that extra income in the biggest, months of the year.
Yeah.
And just think about, is that going to mean a debt-free holiday for you? Like, what is that going to do for your family? So
Yeah, for
be
sure.
thinking about that. So I would love to know who's going to take us up on our challenge. I see some me's. I don't know if that meant yes, you're going for it, or was that from something else?
Galen says challenge accepted.
Okay.
And Amanda says totes inspired. I'm getting my recruits.
I love it. Yeah.
I think that's all I've seen. I might be missing some comments.
Amanda said mine are waiting on paycheck. So that's okay, you guys. So if somebody says they're waiting on a paycheck, the one thing that you have to understand as far as handling objections is usually the reason that they are jumping in is exactly the reason they need to. So if somebody says, I can't do this because I don't have the money, you need to say, oh my gosh, that's exactly why you should do this. If you can borrow it, if you can put it on a credit card, I never want you to have to worry about money again, right?
Yeah.
But make sure you're calling enough people so that you don't have to wait for those people that are waiting on checks. I really want to challenge you guys to think big and just start reaching out to everybody. I love all the emojis from Lisa.
I know.
Is she praying about it? I don't understand what the very first emoji is.
Yeah.
What's the emoji before the praying hands? Is that fingers crossed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
And then I don't know if this one is, oh my word, or I have a headache. No.
Amy says, let's do it.
I love it.
Amanda says, we got this, y'all.
I love it.
Make them proud. All right. Well, Cathy, thank you so much. I know this is, you're going to be flying out tomorrow. So I really appreciate you taking the time on a Monday.
No problem. I can't wait to hear how things go. So Lindsay's going to get back to me and let me know how you guys doing that challenge of reaching out to 5 in the next 48 hours and going for 5. I want to know who's going to do it.
I'm going to stop the recording real fast so don't lose anybody.